We begin with a big revelation that has come to light in the Red Fort blast investigation. A big disclosure has been made regarding a Jaish terror doctor, Umar Mohammed. Security agencies strongly suspect that Umar Mohammed may have been a quote-unquote shoe bomber. Security agencies have recovered a shoe from under the right front tire near the driver's seat of Umar Mohammed's I-20 car at the blast spot. A metal-like substance was found inside his shoe, which, according to the investigation so far, appears to have been used as the trigger to the blast. Traces of TATP have also been recovered from the blast spot, the tire and the shoe. It has also been confirmed that Jaish terrorists had stockpiled a large quantity of TATP for carrying out a major explosion. Now, the investigation has confirmed that both ammonium nitrate and TATP explosives were used in the Red Fort blast. Investigating agencies have also found evidence of explosives beneath the rear seat of the car. Now, to recall, back in December 2001, Richard Reed, a shoe bomber, attempted but failed to detonate dangerous TATP explosives hidden in his shoe on American Airlines flight from Paris to Miami. According to the evidence found so far, Umar Mohammed appears to have executed the blast using the same shoe bomber pattern. We have my colleague Abhijit Thakur now joining us for the latest on that. Abhijit, talk to us. This is a massive revelation. All this while we thought the car was the one that was laden with explosives, but this time around, here we have evidence that can link to the fact that the bomb was hidden inside Umar's shoe.
Right from the beginning of this investigation of the incident that happened in Delhi, it was being said that the terrorists used old school methods to execute this blast or the terrorist incident. And now it has been found that a shoe bomb was indeed being used by Umar when he was driving the car. Some kind of metal substance has been found from a shoe that has been recovered from the front seat on the right side tire, which is in front of that seat. And now the investigating agencies are suspecting that this was kind of a shoe bomb, and that metal attached with the shoe was some kind of a trigger for the whole explosive element that was being fitted in that car also. As we have already learning through our sources that some explosives were also found on the rear seat of the car. So this car was loaded with explosives, and a possibility by agency sources are also being said that the shoe was being used as a trigger, or you can say the switch, or filled with some of the explosive which could trigger the whole explosive loaded car. This is also this information is also coming now. So the whole planning was of a suicide bomber, and suicide bomber was ready to execute this with his shoe. That was one point, and this is still under investigation that what role it could play in the whole blast scenario. As you can see, the shoe might have been filled with explosives, but the amount of explosive that caused that blast was much more than the capacity of a shoe. So this is also being ascertained by the investigating agencies now, that whether the shoe was the trigger point for the whole explosive that was fitted in the car, or the shoe only caused that explosion which killed 13 people nearby Lal Killa.
Right. Even as you tell us that, Abhijit, investigating agencies have also found evidence of explosives beneath the rear seat of the car as well. So, tell us, from the circumstantial evidence that we have, it looks like there has been more than just the shoe bomb that went off, and more importantly, all of this also points to the fact that this was not accidental. It was not premature.
In the beginning of investigation, what we are getting through our sources, that it might be an accidental blast, but later on it was revealed that it was kind of a suicide bombing that happened at the wrong place maybe. So accidental blast has not been denied, but yes, the car was filled with explosives, not at one single place, but the explosives were fitted around the seats of the car. And since the explosion was such huge that it damaged around dozen of cars and killing 13 people, so you can scale of that explosion was such that it is being concluded by the investigating agencies as well that the explosives were not just fitted in the shoe or the rear seat of the car. It was present, yes, but they are also investigating from the angle that it was fitted on maybe in the bonnet, maybe in the dashboard, and explosives. It was an all explosion car, maybe to create a huge impact, and the scale of the blast should be such that it could cause maximum damage. So this was the motive of the planners of this suicide bombing attack, that it should create, give maximum blow, maximum damage it should create. And so this was planned around like that only, and so this is why the car could have been fitted with explosives around the seats and bonnet and the dashboard as well. So the investigating agencies are now trying to connect all those details, all those evidences that has been collected from the blast site, and they are trying to ascertain through forensic reports that whether it was just the front seat or the rear seat where explosives were present, or the whole car was in fact built like a bomb which could create maximum impact when it got blasted. Yes.
Okay, Abhijit, stay with us. Stay with us. In fact, there's some more information coming in. Sources have now revealed a major breakthrough in the investigation linked to Shaheen Parvez and the Delhi blast accused. Agencies said the group operated almost entirely during what they called the Wolf Hour between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. using code words and encrypted chats. Shaheen, known in the group as Madam Surgeon and described as the Alpha, ran a WhatsApp group named Wolf Pack. Now, Shaheen and Arif, Parvez and Arif are also part of it. Shaheen reportedly initiated conversations with a Howl code, and investigators have recovered detailed chat records related to that as well. Abhijit Thakur continues to stay with us and get us some exclusive details on that as well. Talk to us, Abhijit, about the latest revelations about Shaheen and this entire messaging group and the Wolf Hour. The latest coming in terms of a major breakthrough in the investigation linked to Shaheen and the Delhi blast accused. Agencies said that the group operated almost entirely during what they called the Wolf Hour between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. Now my colleague Vivek joins us on the phone line with the latest. Vivek, बताइए ये जो वुल्फ आवर के बारे में जो खुलासा हुआ है और शाहीन के ये जो मैसेजिंग चैटिंग ऐप में ग्रुप में जो कोड वर्ड्स के का इस्तेमाल किया जा रहा था।
जांच का दायरा बढ़ा चुकी है। शाहीन से लेकर मुजम्मिल और उमर, उनकी सारी डिटेल्स जो है वो उसकी पड़ताल की जा रही है। कई कोडवर्ड्स सामने आए जिसके आधार पर इन्वेस्टिगेशन एजेंसी जो है वो उनकी कड़ियों को जोड़ने में लगी हुई है। और साथ ही इस मामले में एक और बड़ा खुलासा हुआ है। उमर की जब डिटेल्स खंगाली गई तो पता लगा कि वो अपनी कट्टरपंथी सोच को फैलाने की कोशिश कर रहा था। वो छात्रों को और कमजोर युवाओं को और साथ ही यूनिवर्सिटी से जुड़े जूनियर जो डॉक्टर्स थे उन्हें अपने साथ मिलाने की कोशिश में लगा हुआ था। सूत्रों के मुताबिक एक युवती ने बताया है कि उसका नाम बदलने की कोशिश भी की गई थी। उसका नाम मरियम रखने की कोशिश जो है उमर कर रहा था, उसकी पहचान बदलने की कोशिश कर रहा था। सॉफ्ट कन्वर्जन की बात जो है वो सामने आई थी। उसी के आधार पर इन्वेस्टिगेशन जो है वो जांच करी है कि कुछ और लोगों को तो इसने अपने साथ जोड़ने की कोशिश नहीं की, कितने लोग इसके संपर्क में रहे थे। तो सारी कड़ियां जोड़ी जा रही हैं, लिस्ट बनाई गई है। कई लोगों से संपर्क किया गया है, कई लोगों से संपर्क नहीं हो पाया, तो उन तक पहुंचने की इन्वेस्टिगेशन एजेंसी जो है वो कोशिश कर रही है। तो उमर को लेकर बात की जाए तो मुजम्मिल को लेकर, शाहीन को लेकर लगातार जांच का दायरा बढ़ता चला जा रहा है। कई सीडीआर डिटेल्स के माध्यम से नंबर हासिल हुए हैं, उनसे संपर्क करने की कोशिश जो है वो की जा रही थी। तो साफ है कि जांच में कई बातें सामने है। जांच में यह भी सामने आया है कि उमर यूनिवर्सिटी में सीनियर फैकल्टी होने का फायदा उठाकर छात्रों को जो कोशिश कर रहा था अपने साथ मिलाने की, तो ये सारी चीजें अब निकल के सामने आ रही है, जिसके आधार पर एजेंसी जो है वो जांच करती हुई नजर आ रही है।
Vivek Sharma ji, bane rahiye hamare saath. We have some more news that's coming in. Sources have made major revelations about Dr. Omar Nabi, the prime accused in the Red Fort blast case. Investigators say that Umar was actively attempting to spread his radical ideology across the country, specifically targeting students and his junior colleagues. A key disclosure came during the questioning of a young woman from Imphal who admitted that she had been in contact with Umar for a brief period. Agencies say that Umar tried to give her a new identity, calling her Mariam, a pattern investigators describe as soft conversion, where a person's identity and worldview are slowly altered. The probe further reveals that Umar misused his position as a senior university faculty member, allegedly pressuring students to attend his informal sessions. The young woman clarified that she participated only out of respect and never accepted his ideology. Sources also indicate that Umar often showed unstable and aggressive behavior with a reported family history of mental health issues. Umar is accused of planting the explosive inside the parked Hyundai i20 car in the Red Fort attack that killed 13 people and left many others injured. We have Vivek Sharma telling us more about that. Vivek Sharma ji, Umar जो है वो हमेशा यही काम करता था, अपना काम तो से कम यही ज़्यादा करते थे कि ये दूसरे लोगों को पकड़ो, दूसरे स्टूडेंट्स को पकड़ो और दूसरे आपके जूनियर कॉलेज को पकड़ो और उन्हें कन्वर्जन पे लगा दो।
बिल्कुल, जिस तरह से बात की जाए तो ये तीनों लोग, उमर की बात कर लें, चाहे शाहीन की बात करें या फिर मुजम्मिल की बात करें, ये लोग जो हैं ये अपने जूनियर डॉक्टर्स के साथ साथ युवाओं को अपने साथ जोड़ने की कोशिश में थे। खासकर उमर की अगर बात की जाए तो उमर जो है वो ये दबाव बनाया रहता था कि लोग उसके संपर्क में रहे, उसकी बातों से वो एग्री हों, साथ ही उससे रोज आना बात करें और उसकी जो कट्टरपंथी सोच थी उसे फैलाने की कोशिश में लगातार सूत्रों के मुताबिक इम्फाल की एक युवती से पूछताछ के दौरान ये खुलासा भी हुआ है कि उमर से उस संपर्क में था और उमर ने उसकी पहचान बदलने की कोशिश की थी। उसका नाम मरियम रखे जाने की बात जो है वो सामने आई है और ये सॉफ्ट कन्वर्जन का एक तरीका है, ये माना जा सकता है इसे। और धीरे धीरे इसी तरह से वो अपने दायरे बढ़ाता हुआ नजर आ रहा था। इसके अलावा वो यूनिवर्सिटी का सीनियर फैकल्टी मेंबर था, इसके चलते वो जो अपने सेशंस हुआ करते थे, जो अनौपचारिक सेशन थे, उसमें बकायदा जो जूनियर्स थे, जो छात्र थे, उन्हें बुलाने की कोशिश करता था और कहता था कि वो उसकी बातों को माने, उसकी चीजों को वो एग्री करें। तो इस तरह से उसने कोशिश की थी काफी लोगों को अपने साथ जोड़ने की और इसी की चीज के निकलने के बाद अब जो इन्वेस्टिगेशन एजेंसीज है वो उसके जूनियर डॉक्टर से भी पूछताछ कर चुकी है और कर भी रही है। तो उसके संपर्क में जितने भी लोग थे, चाहे वो जूनियर डॉक्टर्स हों, छात्र हों या फिर अन्य लोग हों, जो भी उसकी सीडिया डिटेल में निकल के सामने आए उनसे पूछताछ बकायदा की गई है। कई लोगों से संपर्क किया गया है, कई घंटों की पूछताछ की गई है, कई लोग और डिटेन भी हैं जिनसे अभी तक पूछताछ लगातार जारी है।
Referring to India's posture towards Pakistan and Operation Sindoor, the army chief said that the movie hadn't even begun and that it was just a trailer. He also added that if Pakistan gives us an opportunity, we will teach them how a neighbor should behave.
मैं तो ये कहना चाहूँगा कि मूवी शुरू भी नहीं हुई थी, सिर्फ एक ट्रेलर दिखाया गया था और ट्रेलर के बाद 88 घंटे में वो ट्रेलर ख़त्म हो गया था। तो आगे आने वाले हालात कैसे होंगे, ये इसके बारे में हम पूरी तैयारी करके बैठे हुए हैं और अगर कोई ऐसा हमें मौका देता है पाकिस्तान, तो हम उसको भरपूर एक शिक्षा प्रदान करना चाहेंगे उसको कि कैसे एक जिम्मेवार नेशन को अपने पड़ोसियों से बिहेव करना चाहिए। कोई भी ऑपरेशन होता है उससे कुछ ना कुछ हम शिक्षा ग्रहण कर सकते हैं। तो इस ऑपरेशन में भी हमने कुछ शिक्षा ग्रहण की। जैसे सबसे पहले तो हमने ये लेसन प्राप्त किया कि इसमें सबसे पहले चीज़ ये है कि जो डिसीजन मेकिंग है या जो आपने निर्णय लेना है उसके लिए समय बहुत कम है और निर्णय आपको हर लेवल पे लेना पड़ेगा। क्या आप यहाँ पे निर्णय लें और फिर नीचे पास करें, नहीं हो सकता। तो हर लेवल पे, हर स्तर पे लोगों को समय के हिसाब से तैयारी करनी पड़ेगी और एक्शन लेने पड़ेंगे, कार्रवाई करनी पड़ेगी। दूसरी चीज़ जो इंटीग्रेशन बोलते हैं, इंटीग्रेशन का ये मतलब है कि चाहे आर्मी, नेवी, एयरफोर्स, सीएपीएफ, साइबर, स्पेस कोई भी हो, उसका इंटीग्रेशन हम जितना जल्दी करेंगे उतना हम इस लड़ाई को बड़े साझे ढंग से लड़ सकेंगे, क्योंकि आज की लड़ाई जो है वो मल्टी डोमेन है। अगर मैं बोलूँ सिर्फ आर्मी अकेले लड़ सकती, नहीं लड़ सकती, हम सबको मिलकर लड़ना पड़ेगा। हमने तो लड़ाई तकरीबन मान लीजिए 88 घंटे में की, कल कोई 4 महीने भी चल सकती, 4 साल चल सकती है। इस चीज़ को मद्देनजर रखते हुए क्या हमारे पास साजो सामान है उस लड़ाई को लड़ने के लिए? क्या उसके लिए शस्त्र हैं? अगर नहीं है तो उसकी हमें तैयारी करनी पड़ेगी। हमें यह देखना पड़ेगा कि हमें 4 साल की लड़ाई तक के लिए भी तैयारी करके रखनी।
Now, General Dwivedi reiterated that state-sponsored terrorism remains India's biggest concern, stressing that while India focuses on progress and development, the challenges across the border persist. The Army Chief underlined India's deterrence stance, saying that blood and water cannot flow together. Talks and terror cannot go hand in hand. Army Chief General Upendra Dwivedi issuing a strong message on national security while speaking at the Chanakya Defence Dialogue in Delhi.
मेरे ख्याल से ये तो एक बड़ी चेतावनी बन के रहेगी, क्योंकि जब आप स्टेट स्पॉन्सर्ड टेररिज्म या राज्य प्रायोजित आतंकवाद को बढ़ावा देते हैं तो ये हमारे लिए, भारत के लिए बहुत चिंता का विषय बन जाता है। क्योंकि देखिए, हम तो एक उन्नति की बात करते हैं, हम सबको साथ में लेके चलने की बात करते हैं। तो जो भी हमारे काम में रोड़ा अटकाएगा उसके लिए हमें कुछ ना कुछ कार्रवाई करनी पड़ेगी। अब जहाँ तक न्यू नॉर्मल का सवाल है, आप देखिए, हमने तो यही बोला है कि पानी और खून एक साथ नहीं बह सकता। ब्लड एंड वाटर कांट फ्लो टुगेदर, टॉक्स एंड टेरर कांट बी टुगेदर। यानी बातचीत, संवाद और आतंकवाद एक साथ नहीं चल सकता है। तो हम तो सिर्फ यही बोल रहे हैं कि आप शांति की प्रक्रिया अपनाइए, हम भी उसका साथ देंगे। जब तक ये नहीं होगा तब जो आतंकवादी हैं या उनके आका हैं वो हमारे लिए समान मान है। दूसरी चीज ये है, जो भी आतंकवादी को बढ़ावा देगा हम उसको जवाब देंगे। और हमारे पास अगर बैरंग चिट्ठी भी आई तो भी हमें पता है कि जवाब किसको देना है, हमें उसकी चिंता नहीं है। और जहां तीसरी बात है कि जहां तक आप ब्लैकमेल करना चाहते हैं हमें किसी चीज के लिए, मेरे ख्याल से भारत अभी इतना संपन्न है कि हम किसी ब्लैकमेल से डरने वाले नहीं हैं।
Days after a landslide win in the Bihar Assembly elections, the new NDA government is all set to take oath on the 20th of November at the historic Gandhi Maidan in Patna. JDU Chief Nitish Kumar will take oath as the Chief Minister for a record 10th time. Nitish Kumar, who has been backed by NDA allies to take charge of Bihar's top post again, chaired his last cabinet meeting at 11:30 a.m. A proposal was passed to dissolve the cabinet, following which Nitish Kumar met Governor Arif Mohammad Khan at the Raj Bhavan, telling him that he would resign on the 19th of November and the outgoing assembly would be dissolved too. Prime Minister Modi is expected to attend the swearing-in ceremony as decks are being cleared for the formation of a new NDA government in Bihar. Notably, PM Modi had addressed over a dozen rallies during the poll campaign and promised to be back for the swearing-in of a new NDA government. The Supreme Court of India has sought a detailed response from the Delhi government on how the national capital's Air Quality Index, or AQI, is being measured. This comes after reports alleged that water was sprinkled around pollution monitoring stations to distort AQI readings. A bench led by Chief Justice B.R. Gavai has asked the Delhi government to file an affidavit by Wednesday explaining the equipment being used and how efficient these monitors really are. The court took note after amicus curiae Aparajita Singh submitted media reports claiming water sprinkling near monitoring sites. The centre, however, denied any wrongdoing, calling the videos politically motivated. Chief Justice of India B.R. Gavai remarked that he had personally seen water sprinkling near the Supreme Court as well. The court also discussed stubble burning data. While official figures show a drop from 28,000 to 4,000 cases only, the amicus curiae claimed that the numbers are being undercounted, a concern also raised by CAQM, or Centre for Air Quality Management. Now, she told the court that farmers need better machinery and compensation to avoid burning crop residue, suggesting 100 rupees per quintal support from the centre. Senior advocate Gopal Shankar Narayanan warned that Delhi's pollution is causing an alarming rise in lung cancer and said regulatory bodies like EPCA and CAQM have failed to control the crisis. The court then explored whether year-long bans on stone crushers and heavy construction machinery were possible, but the centre said such curbs would harm essential economic activity. The bench agreed that it cannot impose blanket bans, stressing that lakhs depend on these activities for livelihood. It called for coordinated action from the centre and the governments of Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan. The matter will now be heard on the 19th of November again.